Hi everyone in lockdown, I'm Pixie Styx. Welcome to my spare room. I thought it was a good idea, if there wasn't going to be an awful lot going on, to find something to do with myself. So 2 days ago, this was the junk room. Now it's got fairy lights. So I hope everybody's keeping safe. That was a hilarious time to cough. I wanted to first of all say I've seen some really heartening things happening recently. I was watching a video of some people in the local area doing a socially distanced choir earlier. I think that's a wonderful idea. So if you've got any ways that you can get out and about, liven up your community for the people who haven't necessarily got access to the internet, then yeah, do it. That's why I'm here. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host Tildy with her most fantastic We Shall Overcome t-shirt. If you want one, check out the Facebook group, check out the website and get yourself a t-shirt. I was going to bang my t-shirt on, but to be fair, I'm slightly dressed like a tree spirit. So I didn't think it would necessarily go. Right, well I'm not just here to waffle, so I'll start with a song. I'm taking a slightly different approach to normal to this. I've got my little online family photo album to share with you. So if I can introduce you, this is my great aunt Queenie. Now I think I take after Queenie quite a bit. She apparently likes hanging out in Yates's, and her son told me she never ever went out without getting at least one drink bought for her. She used to tell this story, it's through her that this story's come down in the family, about my great-great-grandma Charlotte, who apparently grew up in a big house in the park. Yeah, we found out that they meant the Park Street in Lenton, yeah? It's not quite the big mansions with the caves, but yeah, a big house with quite a big family in it, so, you know, they didn't all have their own bedroom. But Charlotte was quite resourceful. Charlotte could do just about anything with a needle and thread, so hopefully I'm taking after her a little bit. And what she apparently used to do was, when the gym money come due and things were a little bit tight, she'd go to the pawn shop, she'd buy a suit, she'd turn it inside out and sew it back up again like it was new, because it's only stained on the inside then. And yeah, I like to think that my habit of going around some of the best charity shops in the area and picking up bits and pieces to make ridiculous clothing from comes a little bit from her. So this one's for Charlotte. This is That'll Do. Charlotte came from a nice part of town, great big house but no dad around, living with a granddad. She learned a lot from things that he said. You can always make do if you can make something new with your needle and thread. Oh, so what you gonna wear when it's party time, my dear, and you ain't got no pennies for a dress? Whip up a little razzle dazzle, something that will certainly impress. Something older mothers for her days out on the stage could be tastefully refashioned with a little bit of lace. So turn it inside out, sew it up again, and I think that'll do. Just like new, oh that'll do. It's just like new, oh that'll do. It's just like new, oh. So just turn it inside out, sew it up again, and I think that'll do. Charlotte came from a nice part of town, but ended up in the slums when her luck was down. Love over money, she found herself a man who would stay. Happy but poor had its own price to pay. Oh, so what you gonna do when the gym money's due and you ain't got a penny for the car? Gotta be a little thrifty, make the most of all the little that we've got. It ain't a lot, oh second-hand suit is only stained on the outside and could fit a lot of fellas if it starts out extra wide. So turn it inside out, sew it up again and flog it off as new. That's what we'll do, oh, flog it off as new. That's what we'll do, it's just like new, it's just like new. So just turn it inside out, sew it up again, and I think that'll do. I think that'll do. Oh, that's weird, I'm used to clapping now. Alright, more pictures from my special digital photo album, live from my spare room. Oh, that was magical in Narnia, isn't it? We're in the wonderful world of spare room. We ain't got space for a wardrobe. Right, so we introduced you to my great aunt Queenie. Now I have a sneaking suspicion. Oh, where's it gone? Technology is difficult. The lady to the front left, we think is probably Charlotte, but we're not 100% sure. And this is David, who we know for a fact was Charlotte's husband. So I have a sneaking suspicion that Charlotte from the song made that jacket, and I must say I'm quite impressed with the tailoring. Especially if that was from a pawn shop. Woo! Right, okay. Where are we at next? I went on a tour of the Galleries of Justice recently. It's not the Galleries of Justice anymore, it's the National Justice Museum. And I got spoilt rotten, which was a little bit weird because the first one of my ancestors who I knew about, who ended up there, was my 4 times great-granddad Henry. And I've got a song about Henry. I'm quite fond of Henry. He was a framework knitter, and if you're interested in framework knitting, the Framework Knitters Museum in Ruddington is wonderful. You get to see what life would have been like as well as see the machines working, so definitely worth a visit when we're all allowed back outside again. Yeah, it's quite small in there, it'd be quite hard to stay 2 meters apart, but when they're open again, definitely worth going. Framework knitters, as with most of the textile industry throughout most of history and throughout quite a lot of the world right now, it's an industry in which a lot of people don't get paid an appropriate amount for the work that they put in, and it can be quite a dangerous industry, and it can be quite a hard time to keep your family fed. Hey, we're all feeling that a little bit now, aren't we? But my Henry decided he was going to take an innovative approach, and he stole a sheep from a man called Samuel Taylor in Bulkett. So if there's any Bulkett tailors around, I'm really sorry, but I'm pretty sure that the family probably really appreciated that. I am rather partial to lamb to this day, to be fair. So Henry, he got caught stealing a sheep. He got sentenced at what's now the National Justice Museum to 15 years transportation to Australia. And whilst I think, you know, Australia is now a really nice place that's just had a massive fire, it weren't too easy life in Australia back then. So a 15-year sentence to transportation was effectively a 30-year sentence, a 30-year bar from your home country, because after your 15 years was up, you get your ticket to leave if you'd been good, and that meant you could leave the immediate area, but you couldn't go back home again. Now, our Henry, he'd got 7 children at the time that he left. When he was arrested, his wife was heavily pregnant with his youngest daughter, Elizabeth. So his wife, Mary, had to go into the poorhouse, which is now Highbury Hospital in Basford, to have baby. And I thought it was really sad. I thought for a long time that maybe Elizabeth never got to meet her dad. But then I found that when she was 33, somehow she got the money together from a poor family to get a ticket to have a holiday over to Australia. And it looks rather like Henry outlived his wife, like the sun in Australia did him a bit of good. And he was still around to meet his daughter 33 years after he got shipped out of England. Now, when I was at the National Justice Museum, I wanted to iron something out. I did an interview a little while ago where I was saying that part of the sentence was for your feet to never touch English soil again. Not necessarily never. The odd few managed to raise enough money to get back again, but it wasn't easy and it wasn't common. But at the National Justice Museum, there was apparently supposed to be this hole in the wall where the convicts would get lowered down to the river, and that would be the last place that their feet would be allowed to touch English soil. So I was being nosy when I was down there, and I had a conversation with a lovely lady called Kate, and she took me to this place, this hole in the wall, through the rope where you're not allowed to go. I felt very special. and explained to me that there was photos of this place in the 1930s with no hole in the wall. And so, you know, a little bit difficult in 1837 to shove my 4 times great granddad through the hole. And the other thing that I realised was that the river didn't used to go at the bottom of the cliff at Cliff Road. That was where the slums were, that was where the poor people lived. So you really wouldn't want to be shoving people down there, because it's the place that they're most likely to do a runner with some help from their friends and go to one of the 14 pubs that used to be in Narramarsh. So, oh yeah, I should probably explain. This is going to be a little bit of a history lesson as well as a gig. I hope that's all right. Better be now, I'm part way through. So, song, that's what some of you all are here for. And while we're at it, if you do feel like following the links to either of the GoFundMes, the Mesopotamia charity shop are absolutely amazing. I've had some of the best fabric for my costumes from there at absolutely stonking price. But they're doing an awful lot recently to support the local community, particularly the isolated and the elderly. So if you want to chuck a few quid in the pot for them, and if we've managed to pick up anyone from a little further afield and you want to support somewhere more local to you, then hopefully you're closer to Manchester and you can chuck a few quid in the We Shall Overcome bucket for the station. Right, about time for another song then. This is English Soil. Here's to Emily and to everyone who's ever struggled to feed their family. Poor as a stocking up was something people used to say. 14 hours every day, knitting on a narrow frame. Wire frames are coming and progress ain't good for the foreground here. Money men just keep on making money, and famine and factories fill everyone else with fear. Was something people used to say. Back to 14 hours every day, but now it's mom on the narrow frame. Cottage industry is dying. Your kin will find different jobs to do. Merchants, miners and soldiers, and some of them are servants looking after rich folk like the one who sentenced you. Never to stand again on English soil, headed for the prison hulks where the toughness falls. man and my brother Chris is an audience, so I do get a little bit of clapping. Our artists and their egos. So while we're on it, I've got another little photo here that I think might be quite amusing. Where we are. I've lost the photo album. Can you get the album back, please?
What did you do to it?
So to add to the air of the fact that I've invited you all around my house for a little visit, I've got a cuppa, so give me a sec, I'm going to have a glug. Cheers, everyone. Oh, here we go. Thank you, big man. So this is what happened when I went on my little visit to the National Justice Museum. I ended up in the stocks. That's not the first time I've been put in the stocks. But I'm a bit gobber, so things like that tend to happen when people think that I'm getting in trouble. I'll put some of these photos up afterwards, so if you want to have another little look. Here's the mysterious hole in the wall. That certainly wasn't there when people said it was. So that was part of the Myths and Legends tour in 1995 at the Galleries of Justice. I sound like I know an awful lot about it, but that's because that was the year that I was there. So I actually got to stand in the courtroom where Henry got sentenced, and the judge was high and haughty.
Good looking guy.
That was Big Man, if anybody had any doubts. And this is Big Man, so if anybody doesn't know what my wonderful fella looks like, that's what he looks like when he's dressed like a judge. I think he looks a little bit like Santa. Yeah. Santa sent my 4 times great granddad to Australia. It don't sound real, does it? Let's have a look. Oh, here's a nice one. So this I hope in time will become a family history song. I'm blessed with 5 nieces and nephews, and they're all wonderful in their own ways. And I was a couple of years ago having a bit of a depressing day. I'd had a rough time of it. When I started gigging, I was homeless. I spent most of 10 years in either short-term tenancies with slum landlords or about 3 years sofa surfing. I was trading my sewing abilities and babysitting for food and lodgings, which worked quite nicely. Cleaned a pub for a bit, yep. Got a tenner a week and whatever I found in the soaked up beer scum on the floor, which one day when I was very desperate and did a deep clean of the pub was 25 quid. So that was a takeaway I really appreciated. What was the point of all of this? Oh yeah, so this was a time when I was staying with family, and my niece and my nephew who were there decided that we needed to cheer Auntie Pixie up. So we decided that we was going to play an imagination game. And it was raining outside, so our imagination game was in the house, and that resonates a little bit for everyone stuck inside at the moment. So our imagination game involved us having to cross the hot lava floor in the kitchen, which got a bit chaotic when the mummy dragon kicked us out of the kitchen for standing on the work surfaces while she was trying to make lunch, which is fair enough. We ended up going upstairs, and what we had to do was rescue the magical mighty flaming sword that was my nephew's that had been stolen by the evil dragon from the castle. So we fought our way up the stairs, and we fought our way through the bedroom, across the treacherous piles of dirty washing and games that were put there deliberately to trip us up. We fought our way up the steps of the bunk bed. We got to the top and we slayed the evil dragon, and we got the flaming sword back. And my niece turned to my nephew and says, "There you go, mate. Next time you have a bad dream, you wake me up and we'll go and get the flaming sword and we'll sort it out together." That's the kind of solidarity that we need at the moment. I don't know how good a flaming sword is going to do us, but you know, it's the coming together and it's the supporting each other that really matters. So thanks for being here in my spare room. I have no idea if anybody's actually watching, so it'll be funny if I get to the end and find no one's here. But at least me and Big Man and my brother will have had a nice half an hour. Gives us something to do while there's not a lot going on. So I wrote this song just to explain to my niece and nephew how wonderful a job they did of cheering me up when I really, really needed it. And this is actually the first time I've played it in front of an audience, so let's see how it goes. I did get a distinction when I did it for you now, but that was 2 years ago and I wasn't actually playing the guitar. could clamber into your magical tree and not remember how tragical me. And if we find a sunbeam, we can follow it, just to find out where on earth it goes. And if that isn't quite enough adventure, maybe we could head out to chase rainbows, to chase We could pick a spot out, so we could build a tree house, and we can build it high, so we can sleep out among the mythical sky. And if we find a sunbeam, we can follow it, just to find out where on earth it goes. And if that isn't quite enough adventure, maybe we could head out to chase rainbows, to chase head out to chase rainbows. I did think when I wrote that it was a sentimental pile of tosh, but to be fair, sometimes we need a bit of a sentimental pile of tosh, yeah. Right, what was on next? Oh, okay, here's another one we've got some pictures for. Just wrecking up the place. Okay, this picture is my great-granddad, Alfred Pierce, and his wife, Elizabeth Roebuck. Now, Alfred was a very tough man. I'm very proud of Alfred. He was a staunch union man. He lost a job working for the Chilwell Iron Company in Leicester because somebody he worked with had been really seriously injured, and he helped to support the family, taking the company to court. They had a bit of a track record of these horrible accidents that ended up getting put down to being the workers' fault. So Alfred stood up for this family and helped them to get some money and helped to look after the family, but then he found out very shortly after that he didn't have a job anymore after that. So stick to your principles. Sometimes it costs you, but fair enough, Alfred. Respect you. That's Alfred and my mama at their wedding at St Mary's Church in Bulwell, the church on the hill, with the old town hall in the background. So yeah, he had some tough times, but he got through them, and at the end of the day, what was important to Alfred was making sure that the family were alright. And that's what this song's about. So he did have a job as underfootman at a big house, somewhere in Grantham, I'm assuming. Oh wait, no, wrong side of the family. In Leicestershire. Somewhere in a big house. It would have been near Frisbee-on-Wreake, because that's where the family was living at the time. Tiny little village. It's still a tiny little village. I do want to go this year. He got in trouble because he threw away some manky old pheasants that was hanging up somewhere with maggots all through him, and they stunk to high heaven. And so Alfred chucked them out, like you do, you know, you can't keep manky things around, it makes people poorly. And he got summoned to go and talk to the, I suppose, probably the footman was the next step up. And he says to him, "What did you do with our pheasants?" "You stole them." Now, Alfred was a very principled man, and he wouldn't have took kindly to the accusation of theft. It's not something that he would have done or would have permitted in his household. So why he let his daughter marry the descendants of the sheep stealer, I don't know. You know, they must have been good in their own ways. But Alfred, yeah, he said, "No, we threw it out because it was manky, and I won't feed that to my dog." And he lost his job about that as well. So he ended up working as a farmer's labourer, labouring in a field. And he saw some trucks going past from Frisbee that said Bestwood on them. And he thought, that sounds all right. And there were coal truck after coal truck after coal truck heading on its way to Bestwood, working its way through the fields. And he thought, wherever they're going, there must be an awful lot of work there. So he got on his bicycle and he cycled off to go and find a job. And he got one and he cycled it every single day. It's a long way. It's a long way in a car. But he did it to put food on the table and feed the family. So this is Alfred. This is Blue Scars, and this is based on a real experience that he had while he was working in Bestwood Mine. A photo in a sepia stack, a man with immaculate hair. Smart suit, straight back. He's got 1,000-mile stare. That's your great-granddad, Alfred Pierce, known as the Bullock Best. Well, 'cause his bellow was fierce. Blue scars mark the hands of a family man who gave more than he took, lived life by the book, and made his own plan. Blue scars mark the hands of a family man, raised the kids in the shadow of the spoil mountains, work under the ground to fill the frying pan. And I can run like clockwork if everybody's doing as they should, but just one wet behind the ears, you thought it might not turn out good. Or Alfred's got his hands in a place where they would normally be safe, when trouble comes rumbling, humbling, lumbering, thundering. And when the tops came unexpected down the track, Alfred was strong enough and smart enough not to pull his fingers back. Blue scars mark the hands of a family man who gave more than he took, lived life by the book, and made his own plan. Blue scars mark the hands of a family man, raised the kids in the shadow of the spoil mountains, work under the ground to fill the frying pan. Now we go for walks around the spoil mound, but we call it Holy Mountain. And it's a really good spot to pick the slows, to flavour up the Yuletide gin. And I'm grateful to the people that I'll never get to know, who built the perfect mountainside for blackthorn to grow. Oh, blue scars mark the hands of a family man who gave more than he took, lived life by the book, and made his own plan. Blue scars mark the hands of a family man, raised the kids in the shadow of the spoil mountains, work under the ground to fill the frying pan. Oh, yeah. 6 claps this week. Thanks very much, Doc. I hope you lot are enjoying it. I say you lot, I have absolutely no idea if anyone's watching. So I hope so. And if you've bothered to join in, then I hope you're thinking about, if you're in a position to, what you might be able to do to help in the community. I would love to be able to get out and do a little bit more, but I can't drive, I'm broke, I'm a student, I've got work to catch up on, but this is my way of doing a little bit of something to try and help. And if any of you are in a position to be able to and can chuck something in either of the funds that we've got up, it will go a long way, and it will be going to support people who are doing actual real good to help their communities. So that's something I'm always going to get behind. And if you want to get behind it too, there's a couple of GoFundMe links somewhere along the line. Oh, gosh, how long have I been going? When am I supposed to be playing till? 20 minutes, so 25 minutes. I'm probably going to overrun here, but to be fair, you can leave whenever you want. That's the benefit of not being in my actual house. Right, I'll have another glug of my coffee. Oh, that's nice. Okay, I've tried to update the words to this one to make it a little bit more relevant. I wrote this one whilst I was doing my BTEC in music performance, which I started at the ripe old age of 33, I think. I'd been in a hostel. To be honest with you, was a little bit worried about whether or not other people's problems around me were going to start seeping into my life. And it felt like a real horrible thing to be feeling, because these were fellow humans who'd found themselves in difficult situations which were very similar to mine. But there were some challenges that people had that I couldn't deal with on top of the challenges I already had. So I decided there was probably something else I could do with myself that didn't involve some of the substances that people were putting into their bodies. So I decided that what I needed was opera, a little bit of a jump, but I joined Streetwise Opera, did a couple of years with them, got kicked out of there, let back in again, got kicked out again. And then I thought, you know, music's always been something that I've loved. I was in all the school plays as a kid. I sang in choirs at church when I was little. So I thought, right, what can I do? So I decided I was going to do a BTEC, and I turned up basically as old as everybody else in the class's mum, which is interesting. Gives you a slightly different perspective on what's going on. And some of them, you know, really, really sweet people, but some of them really hadn't experienced an awful lot of life, which is fair enough. They were college students. And I found it difficult sometimes to try and explain to them how different my life was when I was, by that point, in a halfway house, and there was arguments from upstairs, and there was banging doors from across the hallway, and all kind of things got thrown on my blueberry bush that I planted in the garden. But I had a blueberry bush, so it was all good. So I needed a way to explain to the students at my music college what my life was like and what it might be like to have a life that was a little bit different to theirs. I'm glad that they were happy, and I'm glad that they'd not felt hardship, but it seemed like music might be the way to try and get it across to them at a music college. So this is Your Side of the Street. I was going to say I promise not to be too depressing for too long, but the next one's a little savage as well. So buckle in for 2 songs, and I'll clear it up again at the end, I promise. The street, you people always seem to have enough to eat, and no one's wearing carrier bags on their feet, or stealing meat. Oh, ain't life sweet on your side of the street? You walk past the lost and the lonely, thinking only of you. You're ignoring this 'cause you don't know me. You don't own me. That's true. too attached to your flat screen TV. I had one too, but they took it from me. You're only one disaster away from coming undone. Take heed, make the most of your time in the sun. I was living my dreams, but now each one is gone. Each one is gone. I don't wanna have to steal from you while you're fighting over bankroll. I ain't got a clue. I've got to do a lot that I don't wanna do just to get through, but it's still true. I don't wanna steal from you. You walk past the down and the damage, but you manage not to see. Wrapped up safe in your layers of advantage. Oh, but it's savage being me. But you're only 3 paychecks away from being like me. Don't get too attached to your flat screen TV. I had one too, but they took it from me. You're only one disaster away from coming undone. Take heed, make the most of your time in the sun. I was living my dreams, but now each one is gone. Each one is gone. I wanna live on your side of the street. I wanna live on your side of the street. So yeah, these are some of the people that need helping. So if you can, chuck a couple of quid in a bucket, in a virtual bucket, because you can't get diseases off a virtual bucket. All right, family-friendly show. Sorry. Right. Okay. Oh, more photos. I gotta be good now because I'm talking about my ancestors again. And most of them were good. Some of them were great. I phoned my dad up earlier and I told him I was coming online to do a little gig for you lot. And I told him I'm going to show everyone a picture of you in your pants. So here's my dad and his brothers in their pants. It's... Oh, I've shrunk it. Is that what you were trying to tell me? What are you doing?
Put your finger there.
Oh, put my finger there.
That way you quit making actually things come up on the screen.
Thank you, big man. I've got 2 technical advisors here. So the reason that I'm showing you a picture of my dad and my uncles is because that's on Bournemouth Beach, and it'll become quite apparent why I'm singing about Bournemouth Beach in a minute. This next song goes through 3 different situations around beaches. First one's Skeggy. Woo! Although, all the people who've been on Skeggy Beach today, what are you doing? It's all right and about going out and about in the sunshine, but you all need to be 2 meters away from each other. And if you can't be 2 meters away from people, go home. It's really important that we do what we can to look after each other. And I'll be completely honest with you, I absolutely love Skeggy. I really, really do, but it's not worth making other people poorly for. So, the last verse of the next song winds up on Dunkirk Beach, so it does get a little bit serious. And one of the people who was there was my granddad, David Kane. He signed up to join the army when he was 14 years old, and by the time Dunkirk rolled round, he was 17. And his big brother George, they both worked with their other brother Chris and their dad at a printing company that had to shut down when the war started. Here's their dad, Joe, at his piano. He pops up at the end of the song as well, as does Alfred, who you've heard about, and Mama, who you've seen. And this is where we get the cane tabs from. I've disguised mine with flowers and face paint. It seems to work. You might also notice the cane eyebrows. Wait, here's a good example of the cane eyebrows. Here's my granddad with his cane eyebrows. I think about granddad every time I wax them. So yeah, this is my mum and granddad. So we did get back home from the war to get married, just at the end of the war while it was still on, but just coming to a close. And yeah, they managed to have the 3 kids that you've already seen in the pants, and take them on holiday to Bournemouth Beach. So rather than just tell you about it, I shall sing you a little song. Can you check if that thing's still recording? Okay. This is Panic in the Water. Or it will be in a minute. There was panic in the spare room.
It's too tiny.
Alright, Panic in the Water. Skeggy Beach in the early noughties, Mama, Dad and me, and the best dog ever, Raffles, who ain't seen much of the sea. I've always loved to swim out deep, 'cause a little thing is a little sweet to me, to me. Have you ever had a 4-stone? Don't try to climb up when your shoulders where it's dry. He's all terror, claws and heavy fur, and I'm far too young and pretty yet to die. There was panic in the water, there was fear in that place. They stood my mama on the shoreline, sunshine for her in her face. There was panic in the water, no, we couldn't touch the ground. But I say now with all the pride of any daughter, it was me dad who kept us safe and sound. Years ago in Bournemouth, family picnic by the sea. Great granddad Alfred, mama, granddad, my dad, and me Uncle Pete. Dad was small with big ideas, and the Isle of Wight didn't seem too far away. Didn't seem too far away. Do you think that we could do it, Dad? If you want to, lad, we'll try. But the waves get big when the wind gets up, and all you see is you and sea and sky. There was panic in the water when they couldn't see the land. Mum was waiting on the shoreline with an ice cream in her hand. There was panic in the water when whipping spray up all around. Should we go back, Dad, if you think we ought to? My granddad 1940s Dunkirk will fight them on the beach. They're pressed and they're surrounded, and home's just out of reach. Mama's not a man just yet, she's waiting for a soldier to come home. Come on home. Granddad's reached the water now, but danger's coming, enemy beware. There's nothing more that I can do, lads, boats are coming, England's over there. There was panic in the water, there was terror on that day. Boys were dying on the shoreline while they were trying to get away. There was panic in the water, but there is something I have found. The pioneers built the defences round the beaches. My great-granddad kept his own lad safe and sound. My great-granddad kept his own lad safe and sound. Right, I've got one song left for you. That one was obviously all about looking after the people that you love, and it's something that I think is massively important at the moment. But it's also important that we spare a little bit of care for the people who we don't know. And I think that's what this is about. Some of you I'll know, some of you I won't, if there's anyone still there. So my last song, I'm setting myself a little bit of a challenge to remember this one. This one's not about my family history, although it might be. Let me have a little look in my photo album and see if I've got anybody in here who I might be related to. Oh no, apparently we've just got a picture of Bullet. So that might be relevant somehow. This song I should really call my attempt at getting around loopholes with regards to copyright, because if you steal something from somebody that was written in 1896, the copyrights won't run out and it's fair game. This song is called Tossed by a Bullock in Nottingham, and I promise it's not rude in the slightest. I said I was doing a family show. I also said to my housemates that I was going to swear jar this one, so if I've managed to get through this by the end of it without swearing, I'm all good. But if I have sworn, I will check back and I will give a tenner for every swear to the Mesopotamia charity shop. It's quite a big ask for me, but I seem to think I'm doing alright so far. Tossed by a Bullock in Nottingham. So there was an article in the Nottinghamshire Guardian in 1876 that told about this bullock, who I'm quite a big fan of. Bearing in mind that was the week I'd been to the National Justice Museum, and I fell in love with a lady called Joanna Ledwich. Not literally, I had Big Man with me, so it would have been a little bit rude. But Joanna Ledwich is, according to the National Justice Museum, is the only person who ever escaped from their prison. Now, me and a friend of mine have been doing a little bit of digging, and we think we've found somebody else, so hold fire, we may have something coming on that a little bit later on in the year. But so far, they believe that Joanna Ledwich was the only person who escaped from the jail. And how she did this was, she got herself a job in the laundry, she tied some sheets and some clothing together, and she threw them over the exercise yard wall. She skinned her way down the rope, but halfway down, the rope snapped. But she was absolutely fine because she was clever with Joanna, and she planned to jump into her friend's garden. So she's landed in her mate's garden. They've jumped out the house, grabbed her, patched her up, and apparently, legend has it, they went on a pub crawl around Narrow Marsh before they bundled her onto a train and got her safely out of the way. She was never heard of again, and I would take that to mean that she had an absolutely fabulous life, and she did it under a different name. Not that I can say anything about names. Pixie Styx is my real name. It's It's on my birth certificate, and if you want proof, it's going to take me half an hour on Photoshop before I can provide it. So, that's By Bullock in Nottingham. This bullock was being taken to the slaughterhouse for that thing that they do to bullocks in the slaughterhouse. Very sad story. But he decided he was going to have a last grand hurrah, and he got away from the people who were taking him where he was supposed to be going. And he had a good old run around Nottingham. And I was wambling through Nottingham a little while ago, before we were told to stay inside. And I went past several of the places that were mentioned in this newspaper article that this bull had apparently run through. And I was astonished. This must have been a good half a day. He went all over the shop. And if I can remember the words to the song, I'll share with you. If you know 1876 Nottingham, 1896 Nottingham, then you'll be able to follow this on the little route map in your head. And if you don't, that'll be great, because then you won't know if I get it wrong. Shortly after 1 o'clock one Wednesday, one hot July in 1896, came the beginning of a quite peculiar frenzy, as a bullock gave his drovers the slip. It caused great consternation in Albert Street, gave everybody a scare, rampaging right up to St. Peter's. He charged at the paper boys there. In Friar Lane he frightened a policeman, took a chunk out of a post made out of iron, headed Market Way on a market day, and bothered all the people who were selling and buying. He ran up Healy Street, he ran down Albert Street, through St. Peter's Square, he ran down Wheeler Gate, he ran up Friar Lane to the market, and he made some mayhem there. He ran up Charlotte Street, he ran down Carter Gate, through Red Lion Square, all the way up long stairs. He ran up Broadway, another thoroughfares. The moral of our story: life is fickle. Take heed and pay attention where you tread, or you might end up outside the plough and sickle, cornered with a bullet in your head. He ran up Healy Street, he ran down Albert Street, through St. Peter's Square, he ran up Carter Gate, he ran down Friar Lane to the market, and he made some mayhem there. He ran up Charlotte Street, he ran down Carter Gate, through Red Lion Square, all the way up long stairs. He ran down Broadway, another thoroughfares. So very much. I've been Pixie Styx. If you appreciated it, you know what to do. Chuck a couple of quid in one of the virtual buckets, and look after each other, everybody. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful having you around my house. See you again soon.